Welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. I'm Joanne, a female entrepreneur, small business coach, and a creative business owner on a mission to help and inspire other women out there who want to make a decent living doing something they love. If you have your own small business, or maybe you've been thinking about starting one but not sure where to start, then this podcast is for you. I share everything I know about starting a creative business from my own experience of running my handmade stationery company, Vintage Twee. It's as honest and as down to earth as me, and it's an eclectic mix of sound business advice, northern humour, and real life, because it's not easy, is it? This podcast celebrates the selflessness, the strength and resilience of women, because we possess a superpower so great that we can handle whatever life throws at us and come out the other side. We are survivors, we are warriors, and we are as determined as hell to succeed. Hello and welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've had a good week and your business is gearing up now for Christmas. I've noticed a slight increase in sales this past week as we head towards the end of October. So my stationery business, Vintage Twee, it's been really quiet since reopening it a couple of weeks ago after I've had a few months off. And I was just wondering if maybe I wasn't invincible after all, and having so much time off had actually caused me to fall off the face of the earth, or the internet at least. But no, it seems I'm clawing my way back up the cliff, and it's going to take a lot more than 6 months off and a couple of quiet weeks to keep me down. So things are starting to shift again. Like I say, I noticed orders coming in from not on the high street and Etsy. So if you're awaiting the start of some Christmas sales, they may start to come in now any day, really, especially once Halloween is out of the way with next week, and then everybody is focused on Christmas. If you haven't listened to my episode a couple of weeks back, it's called Slay the Season, and it's all about getting your small business ready for Christmas. So you might find some helpful tips in there to give you the confidence that you need to approach the festive season as a small business owner. So this week it's half term and I'm back in the trenches again, along with all the other mothers out there who are, I'm trying to keep two businesses and a 5-year-old alive. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity to share with you an interview that I recorded with a lady and a female entrepreneur that I actually met on LinkedIn. Her name is Jo Warwick, and she's a former Olympic trainee turned psychotherapist, and she specialises in helping women be the three things that we all want: rich, sexy, and free. And that is the name of her podcast as well. She has her own podcast where she talks about all things mindset and how we as women can access our true powers, and unlock success because we deserve it. So Jo is also the author of The Big Book of Love. And again, it's something that it focuses on love and relationships and specialising in helping women create a brighter future for themselves. So I thought Jo would be an interesting guest to have on the podcast, as I know a lot of us small business owners, you can find that one of the main things that hold us back from the act of doing, or at least trying in our businesses, is self-doubt. That self-doubt that we feel, it can be crippling, can't it? And, sometimes it can just stop us dead in our tracks before we've even got going on something. So Jo is going to be talking to us today about this concept of perfectionism. Giving us a professional's insight, a professional's perspective about why we may feel this need to be perfect, and looking at the ways of conquering this fear so that it doesn't hold us back in the progression of our businesses. We're also talking about energy, or lack of energy in my case, as this week is proving, and blocks in energy flow, which they can then manifest themselves as creative blocks, like when you just can't get started on something because either you don't feel inspired or you've got some serious self-doubt going on and you just cannot get going. And so you just don't do anything at all. And Jo's got some really insightful advice on what you can do if you are feeling low in confidence in the running of your business, and what you can do to feel empowered and more capable when it comes to the day-to-day navigating being self-employed. So hopefully you'll get some words of wisdom from a woman who's been doing this for over 30 years. I'm sure you will. Here's my interview with Jo Warwick. Enjoy. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Joanne. Lovely to see you.
Oh, lovely to see you. Thanks so much for joining me today on the podcast. It's lovely to have you. I mean, I've seen a few psychologists in my time, right? For various reasons of traumas of life, but I've never seen a love one.
Well, it became that way because my expertise as a psychologist, as a psychotherapist, I became obsessed with the core aspect of human development and of love, basically of what love means, why we have, what we're craving. And so I dug deeper and deeper and deeper from a place of couples to family to children. Deeper. I explored everything from a spiritual point of view. I researched, for 10 years, I researched soulmate love stories around the world.
Oh.
And that was kind of how my book and everything like that got birthed, of the fact that my expertise at that point was very much around love, human development, and attachment. And so about the core aspects of what brings a human being, not just a mechanical human being, but a all-encompassing soul human being, creative force to the forefront to live their best life. And so love is the key to everything.
And I was thinking, like, a lot of ladies listening might be thinking, how have we changed genre of this podcast? Like, what is it about? What are we talking about love for? But I think what we want to be discussing today is that there are key parts of ourselves. We're going to be sort of like looking in the mirror and turning inwards on ourselves and looking about the key things within ourselves that actually do contribute to the success of our businesses. Mainly about the concept of perfectionism and how we're always striving to just be perfect, and we shouldn't be, because things don't happen when you don't do stuff, does it? I think also, self-doubt, it holds us back a lot as creative people. We have a lot of it inside of us. We try not to. And also just about how being attractive in your work and your business can really encourage people to want to buy from you and, be part of your journey. So, so let's delve straight in, really. I mean, obviously, you know a lot about the perfectionism, so what I wanted to ask you about this concept that we absolutely drive ourselves crazy with. It's not possible. It's not possible to be perfect, and it shouldn't be, should it?
It's really not. And you said in that, Joanne, you said about the fact that as creative people, all people are creative. We are a creative energy, and we have at times been given permission to express our creativity in certain ways until we learn that it's okay to give ourselves permission to express it in all ways and be the creator of our own life. And that is the journey of that self-acceptance. But until that point, until we have truly self-actualized, to give ourselves full permission to be a creative expression, a soul having a human expression, creating itself in this world, we will look to control ourselves in some places, and we will fight with ourselves in some places, because and we all know that growing up, somebody said you were good, you got acceptance, not just at home but at school, in all these places where people molded you and said, oh yeah, you have this gift, this talent, I like it, or you have this gift and talent and I don't like it.
Very true.
It's always that way, isn't it? And
Yes.
From my standpoint, as somebody who truly believes in the soul coming here over and over and over again, I believe that our gifts and our talents are things that we've simply done lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And so what makes us most joyful, makes us at our best, is the thing that we want to do, that we must do. We must write, we must create, we must draw, we must dance, we must cook, we must whatever it is. And I know for your listeners, particularly in the crafty world, but it's very much whatever gives us greatest pleasure. And I was suddenly thinking about one of my clients who, coming to work with me, she fully opened up herself as an artist and went to this whole new level and explored herself, this freedom to say, I can express my soul through my artwork. And in that journey of self-acceptance, we have to fight with this idea of perfectionism. And I have a very different approach to perfectionism That
Oh,
it
yeah,
isn't
need
just
some light on
something,
us.
yeah, it isn't just something in your head.
Mm.
Okay. Perfectionism is a trauma response. That's all it is. It is a trauma response of this thing of someone saying you were not acceptable and
Mhm.
this is not okay for you. And so it's the fight within us that says, I want to express myself, but somebody's going to tell me it's unsafe and it's not bad, it's bad to do it. And so as we learn to realize we are not children, we are not going to die from
Yeah.
being imperfect, because that is the true fear, that if I am imperfect, it's not illogical, it's totally right and good. If you are
Mm.
a child, and the thought that if I don't get this right and I'm going, I will die, because if someone rejects me and I'm abandoned, I will die because I can't survive
Yes.
as a
Yeah.
child. But as an adult, as we learn to claim ourselves in all little parts of ourselves, that natural part of us that is our creative force that does come from our inner child, who's
Mhm.
given permission to be free
How
to
nice.
play, free
Yes.
to express themselves. When I was, I don't have my private practice as a therapist anymore because I work in a different way. But when I did, one of the greatest joys, both with the adults and with the children, was I gave full permission to play. I had my practice in my house and I had big bits of paper and I'd get people to scroll and draw and throw things at the wall. We would dance, giving
Wow.
someone full permission to feel safe in that expression is the key to unlocking all ideas around perfectionism. Because when we do that, we recognize that it's safe to express ourselves. And that shifts it all.
Absolutely. It does. It's amazing because I'm guilty of it myself. I sometimes won't start something because I am afraid that it won't be right or it's not perfect. And I know a lot of the ladies that listen to this will feel the same, that they've got an idea and they just can't get going on it because what if it doesn't work? What if it fails? What if their partner or their family thinks that it's rubbish, and they're just too scared to do it. So they don't do it in the first place. But I think I was listening to one of your podcasts actually, because you have one as well, don't you, called Rich, Sexy and Free.
I
At the
do.
moment, I feel broke, boring and trapped. So I'm not going to lie. I'm working on it. But yeah, it's this idea that if you don't get started in the first place, you're never going to do it, are you? You've got to make some mistakes. You've got to just try it because the success is coming from when you're doing it. You're actually being actionable and you're doing something.
Well, that's a really good point. When we're in fear, we look to this outcome of, will I be accepted? Will I be accepted in what I do? And again, that comes from that child point of view, that if I'm accepted, I get praised, I get fed, I get loved, I'm safe, I will survive. When we can flip that, I have a method called the flip to love method, which anyone can check out. It's like $7. Use it, try it for yourself. It absolutely enables you to flip from a mindset, from a frequency, from a belief of when you're locked in that procrastination, we could call it, but I don't believe it is procrastination. It is a trauma that's coming to the forefront where your creative energy wants to flow through you, like turning on the faucet of your tap so that the tap wants to flow. There is something blocking the way so that the tap can't flow properly. You attend to the thing that's blocking it. I use in my book, I call love WD-40. If you're in the UK, you know what that is. The blocker, but we could call it the sink unblocker, all of those things. But once we tend to that thing, that belief system, but also shifting ourselves into the frequency of love and abundance, where we expand beyond this survival into thriving and allowing the creative flow of the universe, of your soul, of God divine, all of that, everything that wants to flow through you, which is giving you the inspiration and the idea, which is saying it's done and it's good and it's right and you should do it, because the joy is not in the outcome. The joy is in the doing of it. None of us know what the outcome is.
It's
and
true.
if we're so busy, stuck, worrying about what is the outcome, you're not going to have the joy, and the joy could lead you from this point to this point to this point to this point, which is where you needed to go in the first place to become the fullest version of yourself. But when we get in that, will it make me money? Are they going to love me? Are they going to appreciate me? Is it going to give me something? I'm the worst. I mean, I'm an expert on this because this was something I had to learn.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was because, and my original career, I was training for the Olympics. I was very programmed, and I chose that. I had two paths to go down as a child. One was theatre and expression and
Yeah.
performance. You can see which one I should have gone down. But the other path was a love of riding and competing, but it triggered and sat with my trauma, which was I need to achieve the gold medal to be worthy.
Yeah.
And what it taught me through what was an incredibly traumatic process, and I never got the gold medal, was that I played out that pattern no matter what I did, until even as a therapist, I had to go through it over and over and over again. My mind still wants to take me to being a good girl. I survived to my age, grand old 49 next month, but it worked. But it doesn't work for me now. It's safe to put it down. And that's what we have to do. We have to completely flip every time, whether you use the flip to love method, whether you use different methods, whether you can simply talk to yourself enough. But I would say one of the reasons I have my method is just because when we do it just in our heads, we don't really flip as well until we are really experienced in it. But when you've got to that point and you can talk yourself back into a space of expansion and going, do you know what? I don't need this anymore. It's safe. It's good. I can move forward. Yes, take the step towards your dreams. Take the step towards your creative action, your whatever it is you want to make. Do it. Yes, absolutely. But first, tend to the inside block first, and then it will flow. And I
What
know
if you don't know what the block is? Sorry, what if you're not sure what the block is though? You feel this need, like, I don't know, insecurity maybe. Say you feel that. How can you get past it if you're not sure where it comes from? That's my question.
Well, so in the flip to love method, it drills you down. So it's really about being able to communicate with your higher self, going beyond where you are. When you try to tend to yourself from a conscious state of being, it's like only using the browser on your computer. We all know that when you look at the browser on your computer, that is not the internet. There is the whole internet is behind it. It's in the cloud. It's all in this space. It's the whole thing that's behind it. The internet isn't on your computer. It's a browser, and your conscious brain is all it is a browser. And when it's trying to work out something that your unconscious, subconscious brain should be dealing with, but more importantly, that it's something in your body, your conscious brain cannot, on any level, be able to work out something inside your body. Your body communicates with you what that is through feeling. So you have to get out of your head and into your body, and you have to allow your unconscious and subconscious to do the work, which is why flipping from a state of conscious to unconscious, a state from head to body, enables you to move forward. Because as I said, if it's a trauma response, it's just an emotion. It's a blocked emotion, and we just need to flip from it and move from it so that you can get your creative juices moving again. And that can be done both by journaling, by thinking about it, by movement. I highly recommend dancing, shifting your body, shaking it off, but above all else, stopping and listening to yourself, which is what you haven't been allowed to do, which is what allows creative force.
You have to do it. You have to do it to actually be successful. And I've just started in the evenings. My husband laughs at me. I've just started knitting, right? So I not to make any money, not to sell anything, because I'm absolutely crap at it, but I enjoy it. So I'm sat there and I'm dropping stitches all over the place. There's holes in this scarf that I'm making for my daughter. But there's something about it that just really calms me down, because I've not got that pressure of thinking, oh, I've got to make it for this person, I've got to sell it. But actually what I feel like it's doing for me is sort of unlocking a little bit of the creative block that I've had, because I've been off for quite a while from my other job, which is a wedding stationery business, due to illness. So I've not been in the creative mindset, and I'm finding it really hard to get back into it. This side of things I'm doing okay with, because I sort of was doing it as I was off, and I was writing, like you said, I was journaling. but getting into making things again has been hard. So I thought, let's try something without the pressure. And knitting it is, apparently, and nobody wants my stuff, and that's fine. But I'm enjoying just sitting there knitting while I'm watching Netflix. But it's helping something inside of me get unlocked, I think, so that I can then get things flowing again.
And it's also, it's getting your brain out of the way and letting your body just flow. It's that, and a physical act of, you know, being, it's particularly why it's like when you do journaling, it's better to journal with a pen, not on the computer.
I agree.
When I write my stories now, I do write on a computer, but it's that, it is that kind of like, oh, I can just get my head out the way, and that joy of just being in the flow, which is what we do it all for anyway. The joy of the flow is that high that is meditation, that is connected to your soul, that's God creativity. It's all of that that creates worlds. It's that flow that makes you feel so good and makes you feel full and high, and that's what we want. Cooking for me is my thing. I learned about 10 years ago that just don't bother with knitting. It was so bad. And I quite like woodwork at school, but cooking for me is my place of absolute pleasure. And it's funny because my mum always puts a pressure on me of going, oh, you should apply for this, or have you thought about this? Yeah, and it's like, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't do it. I love feeding people. I love having people around for dinner. And my whole vision of always in my life is having a huge table in Italy with, you know, big loads of people I'm feeding. I've got this thing about, you know, food. There's the Jewish part of me.
Are you a feeder?
Yeah. Jewish blood in me. I'm always about this feeding and wanting. And my nan was a real feeder as well. But more importantly, I do it for myself as well. I do cook. I don't just, you know, have, when it's just me, I don't just not have good food. I cook. I like to really nourish myself with that, because I actually enjoy the process of cooking more than anything. And so, yeah, I think find anything that makes you joyful. And it doesn't matter how crap you are at it. Said you're crap, you know?
Just do it and just try. But yeah, it's true. Just get started on something. And you know, I think I don't know if a lot of women can relate to this, but I'm quite a positive person. I like to say that I am. I'm quite optimistic, but you know, I've had a lot of stuff thrown at me, as a lot of people have in life, and it can make your energy very low. It can make you feel like that, you know, you're not capable, or that you shouldn't try, shouldn't even bother. And I know there's a lot of women that I work with as well who feel the same. They think they've tried over hundreds of times to start a business, or, you know, they've got started and they've given up. Like, how can they use sort of like positive energy for all the skeptical people out there? Like, you know, does it exist, this positive energy, and can it actually change your course?
So I think this is a really good, important thing, because there's a big misunderstandings around the law of attraction and manifesting and how you use energy. Okay, so there is only energy, and there is only energy that goes forward. Okay, the creative force is only positive, but I don't even use the word positive because there's only energy. It is a forward moving energy. And it comes at different frequencies because it's allowed to flow more freely like a river. So if we think about a little stream or a tiny little trickle, and then we think about it coming into a stream, or we think about it coming into a river, it has the difference between having more space and less debris. We are processing energy all the time. I mean, there's so much energy on this podcast already. I mean, you can always tell when there's energy going because I start to melt and I get hot and sweaty. Which is delightful. I'll turn into a puddle. Welcome to me. But so, if you allow yourself and learning to just let the body do what it does best, as I often say, it's like going to the toilet. And the thing is, we always feel good when the body does what it does best, and it's not constipated emotionally or physically. We feel light, we feel free, because there is a fuller force and space for energy to flow through us. That's it. Sometimes I need to go piss off, cry. If I do it in the moment and I work like a perfect human is supposed to, or an animal, as we actually are, then we don't get stuck in stuff. The problem is when we've held on to baggage, when we've held on to emotions because we're programmed to either say, good girls don't get angry, or it's embarrassing if I cry, or I feel weak if I cry, for many different reasons. We've all had different experiences. But when we get a backlog, that energy can't flow. And so we get very little flow of that stream. And so
And
it's
then
like
what are the effects of that then? Just no creativity, no
no
like
creativity and depression. So
depression.
your sex drive goes, your life force goes, your energy goes. It's like someone's taken either turned the lights down or taken all the energy, the air out of your tires. You've got
Yeah.
no momentum, and you can't create from that space, and you shouldn't, because when you create from a low vibe, you create low vibe. Yeah.
Yes.
So what you create back in your life is going to be low vibe, which is why you should always tend to you first.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
lifting yourself up, doing things, create stuff, but do it like you did, like the knitting or the cooking or the dancing or the singing or anything that helps you flow this energy out of your body so that you feel and start to raise your battery. Then it's like, when I have a full battery, I'm creating from love and abundance. I'm creating from joy. I'm creating from pleasure. And therefore, what you attract back in the world is love, abundance, joy, and pleasure. You get met.
No, it's true what you were saying about the idea of having like raising your battery. I know a lot of us, a lot of women are going about our day and our battery is dead before we're even up in the morning. It's like, I mean, like you were saying when just before we came on here that your dog's been up all night with diarrhea, like an hour and a half sleep. You know what I mean? Like we're actually operating on zero sometimes before the day begins.
Yep.
And it's like sometimes it's finding that energy for yourself and to say, right, okay, I'm tired, I'm knackered, the kids have had me up all night, whatever, but I need today to go and do something for me.
Yep.
And whether it be knitting, whether it be going for a run, whatever, it is so important, isn't it? And I don't think we make enough time for it.
No, it's absolutely one of the first things. I mean, I know I have a slightly different life to other people. I'm well experienced in this, but my dog, was sick all night, had very little sleep, and yet I took it easy. I listened to my body. I've meditated. I've moved. I've taken it very slow. I've thought about things. I'd set a great plan for today. I have a new thing, a program thing that's going on the 11th, 11/11, an abundance energy activation that will be happening on the 11th, which your listeners are more than welcome to come and join and experience that shift. But I wanted to plan it today. And I woke up this morning going,
Yes.
what did I do? I had a bath. I
Oh,
stopped.
lovely. Oh, yeah.
My dog doesn't need walking today because she's been sick. So I did, I potted around. I've had a cup of coffee. I've had some water. I've had warm water. I have aloe vera. I haven't had any breakfast yet, actually. I wasn't feeling it, but I did meditation. I've just been very gentle. I've been very slow. I've allowed myself to rest so that I was ready for this, but particularly that I tended to myself. And I know the things that help. It doesn't have to be a big thing, like just stopping and listening and then doing something that takes you out, whether it's a 10-minute meditation or a song. I'm loving this song that I think everybody should listen to. Emily Sandé's Extraordinary Being.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll put that one on after.
I absolutely think it's the most divine thing I've heard in ages. And it's so beautiful. The words are beautiful. And I think I really use music a lot because as an energy, I am music. Music is an expression for me. But I think it's so important, those sort of things as well. We've been so programmed by society, by conditioning, by the past, that we've got to hustle.
All the time. Can't rest.
I know, can't rest. And actually, interesting, the last podcast episode I had on Rich, Sexy and Free with Anna Ennis is all about hustle to abundance and how she shifted from that. And it's like that process of giving ourselves to be in the permission of the feminine, because the feminine energy is the flow. It's the masculine energy, which is all about action. And we need the masculine energy, absolutely. But if you just do action, it's like doing the riverbanks without the river. They're pointless.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have riverbanks for an empty river. You support the river. That's the purpose of within the feminine. The masculine energy is there to support the feminine.
I am exactly like that. Sometimes I'll come down in the evening and my little girl goes to bed, and I could be downstairs at 8:45, 9 o'clock, and I think, right, now I've got to write my social media post. Now I've got to.
Oh my God, no.
I do. I work till 11 o'clock at night because
That's awful. Stop.
yeah, this is
Stop.
my life. This is
Yes.
my life. And
Yes, stop.
result, like, it wasn't like that before I had children. Without a doubt, I had 14, 15 hours a day when I used to work, but now without a doubt it has shifted massively. And I know a lot of women listening are in the same boat where they have to cram their adult life into a couple of hours in an evening, and that includes all the life admin, paying bills, and making shopping lists and all this stuff, as well as running a business. And it can feel impossible and overwhelming, and it's
I
just a
have an
real
answer to
difficult
that.
thing to navigate. Go on.
I have an answer to that. I have a
Yes.
program called Time Queen. And one of the things I teach is not only time chunking, but also I teach quantum shifting. And when you learn how to quantum shift, time shift, because time is just a fourth dimensional illusion. It's what we set on ourselves. When we learn to shift time, because we are all so magical already, women are incredible. Look what you can do already. If you learn how to use your skills correctly, suddenly it's like, boom, within an hour, you have suddenly got, all this whole list done. Within 10 minutes, you've got everything done that you thought was going to take you all evening. Learning how to be in charge of your power and your energy and your time go hand in hand. And often we don't set boundaries where we should be setting them. So this action of going, okay, where are my time boundaries? When are my kids going to sleep? When do I have my space for myself? You have to then use your masculine in a very healthy way then to start to say no, to set boundaries, to give them independence, because children do actually crave and need certain amounts of independence to start setting those boundaries, and then you have more space to breathe. So learning to when to do those timings better, when can you get up better, when can you do things at lunchtime, when can I do, using great tools like ChatGPT, all of those things have a process. But learning the skills is absolutely essential so that your energy is your most valuable tool. And that's what I've said over and over and over again through this today, is understanding that your energy is the key to you in your success or failure in anything in your life. And that we've been programmed to put that at the back burner, when in fact your energy is everything. It's your life force. It's the thing that makes you healthy. My clients go from places of absolute, burnout, or feeling so disconnected, feeling so unsupported, feeling so uncreative, that their businesses are failing, that they've, I've seen it in every way. I've had work with women who've had ME. I've worked with women who are suicidal. I've worked with women in every single depth and aspect, from abusive relationships to healthy. And every single time over 20 years, I have done exactly the same process, although I've called it different things, but exactly the same process of helping women pump up the tire that is their energy, and then take control of it and learn to drive it. Everything changes. Their health changes. They become vitalized. They become seen. They have this amazing sex life. They become energized. Everybody wants to be with them. They become magnetic.
I mean, some great tips in there for everybody. Have you got any last words of wisdom for the ladies who obviously maybe trying to start their business, helping them feel empowered and capable when it comes to running it?
Firstly, you're already enough. Because even though you may think that I don't have this qualification, or I don't have this thing, or I've never done this before, if it's on your heart, you've already done it before. You've already lived a life. So you already have experience with things around connection and people and understanding. Yes, you can get better at sales. Yes, you can get better at time management. Yes, you can get better. Once you learn these things from your inside, that bit matters above all things, because a business, and I think this is really important to understand, a business is an extension of you, but it mustn't stay that way. As all people who start businesses, particularly women, you're giving birth to something. It is your baby. it's an extension of you. But eventually it must become a vehicle of its own right. So you can't hold on to it for forever like you would a child. You don't give birth to it and then hold on to it. You want to encourage it to grow. But it is an extension of you. It is a reflection of you. So it teaches you so much, like being a mother. It teaches you so much about who you are and who you are in the presence of your children, or in the presence of your clients, or in the presence of your creativity. It is a journey. It's not a thing that is a cold, hard thing. It's a, particularly small businesses, it's an expression, it's a creativity, it's a pleasure. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Because if you're not prepared to enjoy the process of being a parent to your business when you start, then you're not in the right space. But if you are prepared because it feels like it's right on your heart, know that you are enough. When you get pregnant, everybody thinks, oh my God, I'm never going to be good enough. But you don't instantly have an 18-year-old. You go through a process of being pregnant and growing and growing and growing. And so you don't need to think about whether you're going to be good enough to have a 7-figure business or a 6-figure business or a 5-figure business, or even if you're going to make I mean, the joy I had when I sold my first book and I made $4. This was something I birthed, but the satisfaction that somebody had paid to read my books, and the journey is essential. And so it is a commitment. It is a love affair. There must be love in it. So you have to start by loving yourself first.
You do.
Love yourself first to love it. And then your business is a delight, and enjoy the process and find the right people to help you come into that abundance. And if you have been drawn to anything that I have said today and you would like to find out more, then absolutely, as I said, I'm hosting She Matters, the 11/11 Abundance Activation Circle. That will be happening on the 11th of November. You can visit richsexyandfree.com and you can access the podcast, and you can check out all the things on my website. And there's loads of free stuff, so you can go and check out anything there. And
I'll put a link to all those in the show notes anyway, so everyone can visit them as well.
Perfect. And particularly, if the Big Book of Love is the way, if that is something you're trying to heal on the inside and you really want to get over perfectionism and self-doubt, you want to understand more about energy flow and how actually the missing piece that you've probably been missing is that you've been trying to do all of this without the fuel in your car.
Yes, exactly. You can't get anywhere, can you?
Anyway, you cannot get to the destination.
Thank you, Jo. It's been really interesting talking to you today. I really appreciate it.
I've really, really enjoyed being here, and the conversation has weaved as it does.
Yeah, absolutely. We never stick to the course of what we plan anyway. That's the best way, I always say. Thanks so much for joining me, and take care of yourself. I'll put all the link, like I said, to the all of Jo's services in the show notes. So if anybody wants to go and take a look, that's where you'll find them. Thanks again, Jo. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was my interview with Jo Warwick. She had a lot of interesting things to say, which definitely gave me some food for thought and got me thinking about how I can make sure that I'm always managing to find some joy in the creative process, because, it should be the number one reason why we do what we do. We choose this unpredictable path of being self-employed because we want to do it. So we've got to love what we do. If you want to find out more about the work that Jo does, you can visit her website, jowarwick.com, or listen to her podcast, Rich, Sexy and Free. It's on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple and YouTube. I'll put all the links to Jo's details in the show notes, so they're there if you want to access them. And next week, I'm going to be back flying solo on the podcast with an episode for all of us procrastinators out there. I'm going to be talking about the creative brain of entrepreneurs and how it can be both a blessing and a curse when it comes to running our businesses. Now, I'm convinced that our brains work different to other people's. If you're anything like me, you're there wide awake planning how you're going to take over the world at 2 a.m. Or maybe you're a master in the art of distraction and, it's ruining and killing all your productivity. If that's you and that sounds familiar, then I think you're going to like next week's episode. So that's all from me this week. Don't forget, you can head to my website, book some one-on-one time with me if you need any help with your business. It doesn't matter where in the world you are as well. I know I have listeners all over the world, which is amazing. We can figure out a time to meet that suits us both, even if it means that one of us is in our pajamas. It has happened. No, seriously though, I'm here if you're feeling stuck. You can book a one-off hour session with me if you just need like an instant dose of help with something, anything at all. Anything that's keeping you awake at night or stopping you from moving forward, email me. I'd love to hear from you. And honestly, I jump for joy every time I get a legitimate email from a woman with a small business who has listened to my podcast and reached out. I really do. Ask my husband, honestly. So don't hesitate, email me. It'll make my day, I promise. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast.